And what is up, everybody? Okay, it is past midnight, so I am 2 days late on a review for Iron Fist. Okay, and the reason why this is so important to me was because I was in it. I was a background actor in 3 episodes. Hard to spot myself in the first one. Second one was a little bit easier, and the third one I was featured in. And because of that, I can never be anything else in the Marvel Netflix shows unless I'm that role. And if I was if I was gonna be featured and you're gonna ban me from playing anything else, the least you could have done was make sure my face was in focus. But that being said, the show caught a lot of flack for some of the dumbest reasons possible. The show didn't even air, and it was already given like the lowest rating on Rotten Tomatoes at 0%. Now, mind you, Friday, while I was doing laundry, watched all 13 episodes. Watched the entire series. And I liked it. I did. Now, I understand why critics could be upset about it, but that was no reason to dog it. I mean, being how it's supposed to be, part of the Marvel cinematic universe, and ties in with Daredevil and everything like that. What people are expecting is action. They're not getting it. The fight scenes not as good as they could have been. I mean, considering the martial arts team that I know was working on the show, fight scenes weren't what they could have been. The show is not what it could have been. The show was more like an office drama, like Suits, like Family Law type deal. I understand why they went in that direction. I kind of respect why they did. It was the wrong choice, but I understand why is it that they went that way. Because, you know, Matt Murdock is a broke lawyer. Jessica Jones is a private investigator, a broke private investigator. Then you have Luke Cage, who is an escaped convict just laying low in the streets. But then you got this kid who's a billionaire. You're not gonna put him on the same level in the same surroundings as the other three. So what was wrong with that? Nothing. They just went about it in a way that they shouldn't have done. Like I said, making it an office drama as opposed to a kung fu series. We were more hoping for like Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. Instead, we got Suits and Finn Jones going on. Well, first off, the critic who Screen Junkies had, just absolutely dogged the first 6 episodes, and even especially the episode directed by RZA. Spoiler alert: RZA basically was able to do recreate and do his little take on Game of Death, Bruce Lee's Game of Death. RZA being a big fan of those old kung fu films. What one of the guys at Screen Junkie said was they should have just, rather than give it to RZA, who's a fan of those old films, why don't we hire a director who actually makes those films? That did make all the sense in the world. Then you have Finn Jones complaining about how the character's unrelatable and blaming Donald Trump. I guess that's the theme for this year or for the next 4 years. When in doubt, blame Trump. Because, nobody likes rich boys. Rich boys are unrelatable. Then why do people like Batman? Rich white boy. Why do people like Iron Man? Rich white boy. Why do people like Arrow? Why is Arrow such a popular show if he's a rich white boy? Has nothing to do with them being relatable. First of all, superheroes are not made to be relatable. They're made to inspire. That being said, I related a lot to the character Danny Rand. Me being a Marine, me being, going through the training and stuff that I go through, nowhere near to the level that Danny Rand had to go through, fighting a dragon, being beaten with sticks, if ever he lost a fight. Granted, I have done training similar to that, but not for as nowhere near for as long as he has. But I understand what it is to be far from home. I understand what it is to have to go through some form of harsh training. I understand coming home to what you thought was this great place. So not only do you find out it's not what you remember it to be, only to, not only find that out, but to also find out that it was never what you remembered it to be. Not to mention the fact of people using him for their, for their advantage because of who he was and what he was capable of. I completely relate to that. Just because he's a rich white boy doesn't mean, I have nothing in common with this guy. I related more to him than I did with Matt Murdock. I related more with him than I did with Luke Cage, the supposed the relatable people. I don't think I've related to any superhero as much as I've related to this incarnation of Danny Rand. So Finn Jones, you have no excuse. I know other people who've seen the show and actually liked it. Okay? Him not being relatable, that's garbage. You think that just because somebody's rich, you got nothing in common with them. You can't see anybody past their money. It's like you must have some serious self-esteem issues if that's the case. If you can't see anybody past their money, it's like, I can't relate to that guy. You must think of yourself as like garbage or something. That is the only possible explanation as to why you would get upset with this character just because of saying that, he's unrelatable because he's rich. Not to mention the fact his family dying. My father passed away a little over a year ago, and the people responsible, obviously, it still angers me. A group of doctors who, despite the fact that my father was getting better, didn't want to continue giving him treatment because they weren't making any money off of it. As a result, my father passed away. I understand. I totally understand. So, losing a parent because of somebody else's greed. I totally relate to that. So, whoever the critic was that Screen Junkies had on, you're a moron. That's it. Finn Jones, get over yourself. Freaking if you're actually going to defend, at least try to defend your work, man. Stand by what you did. Don't apologize for something you did because what you did was good. I related to that. When I got home from boot camp for the first time, I felt like I was a kid again. He was 10 years old. When his plane crashed in the Himalayas, that 15 years later, he sees New York City again for the first time. He sees his home again for the first time. Obviously, he's a little kid again. And of course, he's naive. And of course, he's going to, fall into a bunch of traps, things that were supposed to be a certain way. And he's finding out the hard way. That's not how that works. That's exactly what I had to go through when I got home after doing 2 different tours in Iraq and coming home and people trying to take advantage of you. Oh, he's a Marine? Oh, then that means he knows how to take orders, regardless of how stupid and worthless they are. because of this, because of his dedication to martial arts, that means that I could sit back and let him teach all my classes for the next 4 years. I know all too well what it means to be that character, Danny Rand. Don't tell me people can't relate to this. And then, of course, the really, really stupid argument that it wasn't an Asian character. Danny Rand is white. His name is Danny Rand. It's not Danny Wong, not Danny Lee, not Danny Lee L.I. It's not Danny Lau, Danny Wong, Danny Wing. It's Danny Rand. People complaining about him not being Asian. Stupid. If you want an Asian martial arts hero, then have ABC Studios create Shang-Chi, Master of Martial Arts. There goes your Asian kung fu superhero. You know, completely different character. No need to try to gender bend. I mean, not gender bend, race bend. You know, already established heroes. You know, some of them is like, okay, you could look past, but at least do a good job with it. I've said time and time again, the only reason why we tolerate Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is because they made Nick Fury to look like Samuel L. Jackson in The Ultimates. That's the only reason why. But Marvel trying to make their comics more like the movies, stupid. Marvel taking, Nick Fury and giving him a illegitimate half-black son and having that son lose an eye, just so happens to be the same eye Nick Fury lost, and now he's the new Nick Fury. Stupid. Iron Man being replaced with this little black girl. But we want we wanted to have a female Iron Man. You already had one. Her name was Rescue. But we wanted we wanted it to be a black Iron Man. You already had one. It was War Machine. But we needed a black a black female superhero. You have plenty of black female superheroes. One of them is Spectrum, who used to be Captain Marvel. Longtime Avenger. Used to lead the Avengers. Why aren't you building her up anymore? Stupid stuff, stupid stuff like that Marvel is doing, and I honest to God don't care too much more for anything Marvel, with the exception of the movies. I am gonna watch. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 because it looks very funny. I'm really looking forward to Defenders. Charlie Cox is a cool dude, and really looking forward to that show as well because it's the continuation of both Daredevil as well as this show, more so than the other two, just more so than Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Granted, they're going to be in it as well, and like I said, I'm just really looking forward to that. This show. It was good. No ifs, ands, or buts. It was good. As long as you understand, it is not the action flick that it should have been and that you were expecting. The acting was more or less okay. Fight sequences were not as good as they could have been because, mind you, Finn Jones is not a martial artist. Not at all. I don't think he could punch his way out of a wet paper bag. And the Chinatown scene, I was on set. In the Chinatown scene, all the scenes of, all the parts with him walking, that was him. The actual fight sequences, it was a 2-day shoot. The actual fight sequences were shot the second day of shooting. Finn Jones was nowhere to be found. His stunt double was there the whole time. So, take it as it is. It's not what it should have been. It's still good. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.